Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Streamline Efficiency, Empower Your Revit Workflows with Ideate Software. My name is Richard Taylor, Technical Evangelist here at Ideate Software, which is now part of the GRAITEC Group. I'm located up in Boston, and my background is architecture. I'm always happy to connect with people. You can send me an email to richard.taylor@ideatesoftware.com. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can follow me on X. So who is Ideate Software? Well, as I mentioned, we just became part of the GRAITEC Group. We're thrilled with that. It gives us access to global resources. For now, you can go to ideatesoftware.com, our website, and you can find all kinds of information about our Ideate Software solutions, technical videos, getting started guides, blogs. So I would encourage you to review that resource. We are supporting on Revit 2020 through Revit 2024. However, we're hard at work on updating our products to Revit 2025. That should be out next month. And at that point, we'll be supporting on Revit 2022 through 2025. Some resources I'd like to point out. We have a very short problem solution videos. So these are very short videos that basically talk about a particular workflow problem within Revit and how our solutions will assist you. We also have the general YouTube playlist that's available. And then we've just introduced a new training series every other Friday at 2:15 p.m. Eastern or 11:15 a.m. Pacific time. And so this 15 at 15 training series is really focused on our getting started guides for each one of our solutions. So you can go to our website, ideatesoftware.com. You can look at the events tab, and then you can sign up and you can download that information to your Google Calendar or to your Outlook calendar so you never miss a session that we're doing for this 15 at 15 training series. So I always like to have a high-level overview of our Revit software solutions, and I like to put them into two main categories. The first category is all around Revit model productivity. So for instance, our Ideate apps. This is one product, but it's actually 10 tools within that one product. And those 10 tools will help you lay out sheets and views in Revit, help you understand why an element is not visible in Revit. You can renumber things very easily, spell check. These are just a few of the things that you can do with Ideate apps. In addition, our product called Ideate Sticky allows you to live link Excel, Word, and PDF data into your Revit project and keep that up to date. This could be code lists or manufacturing data or even general notes. And so there's no easy way to link that in currently with Revit out of the box. So this gives you a great way to integrate that sort of what we're calling non-BIM data into your Revit project. All right, the second large category of our solutions and the workflows that they solve is all around data management, project auditing, model, and data health. And so our product called Ideate BIM Link allows you to extract information from the Revit model, send it to Excel, be able to manipulate that, and then import that back into the Revit model so that you can make changes very easily and very quickly. Ideate Explorer is our model browser. It's showing you every element of the Revit model and allowing you to filter and find things very easily and quickly. You can also review which elements in your Revit model have warnings, and you can categorize those warnings as high, medium, and low for you to be able to review those. And you can still have the Ideate Explorer dialog open as you fix those elements that have warnings. And then our Ideate Style Manager kind of takes that same approach to reviewing and cleaning up items, but instead of using or dealing with floors, walls, doors, windows, construction model elements, it's dealing with the foundational elements of Revit. So when I say foundational elements, what I mean is object styles, line patterns, materials, parameters, fonts, text, all of those things that make up the Revit model that can get out of hand, especially if you're copying information from one Revit model to another Revit model. You can end up with lots of styles that are duplicated. Maybe you've got materials, you've got concrete listed several times, but it's actually the same material. So this allows you to review where they're used, merge them and clean them up so you have a very clean and lean Revit model. And then finally, Ideate Automation is our scripting solution, allowing you to script tasks such as exporting to PDF or exporting to AutoCAD DWG, maybe exporting IFC or Navisworks, the NWC format. And so you can schedule these tasks to run when the computer has downtime, typically overnight. So you might want to schedule an export to PDF at 2 in the morning. And maybe you, instead of one model, you actually want to do that on 10 models, and they're all being pulled from the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So a great way to be able to increase your productivity. So let's first focus on Ideate Apps. So as I mentioned, Ideate Apps is a collection of productivity tools for all Revit users. It doesn't matter if you're an architect, an engineer, or a construction professional. These tools are going to help you on your daily Revit tasks, such as laying out sheets and views, being able to understand all the annotation and be able to clean that up very easily, understanding why something doesn't display in a particular view with our Ideate X-ray, and understanding the ramifications of a delete with our Ideate Smart Delete. Okay, so let's take a look at this. I'm going to switch over here to Revit, and today I'm using this model called the Snowden dataset from Autodesk, and it's actually it's a real site in Pennsylvania, but it is it's not a real building. But what's nice about it is it does have some commercial, it has some retail areas, it has some residential as well. So it's nice to be able to kind of showcase some of these different features of Revit and, of course, Ideate Software. So what I'm going to do here is come over to the first floor. I'm going to double click on level 1 and open up just to show you that this is the level. And what I've done already is created, I split this building as a couple dependent views into the left and right. And so in this case, what we've done is we've created a scope box, right? And that scope box is labeled left half of building here. And I've done the same thing for the right half of the building. And those are two dependent views under the first floor. Well, what if you want to take that same sort of parameters or the same settings that you did for the left and right on the first floor, but you'd like to apply them to the second through the roof levels? So that's a great use for Ideate Software and our view creator. Now, there are multiple methods to create views. I'm only going to go over a few today. One of those methods is to apply dependents. So next, as I go to the next screen, you'll see that I've got this left building zone and right building zone. So I just tick those two check boxes. I'm going to say next, and then I'm going to basically apply those to the level 2, 3, 4, 5, and the roof level. So at this point, it gives me a preview of those new views. So they haven't been created yet, giving me the option to change characteristics, such as maybe I want to, in this case, it's left building zone, right building zone. Maybe I want to find the word zone, and I want to replace it with the word area. And I can do that very easily. So now that I have maybe my the naming correct, I can go over here and say, create those 10 views. And so Ideate View Creator is going to create those views. And you'll see over here now under the level 2, we have our left building area and our right building area. And if I select on L2, the left building area, notice over on the properties palette, if I look at the scope box, it is automatically on the left half of the building. So it kept those same characteristics and applied them to the other levels that I'm working with. So a great way to be able to create those new views. Okay, so we've done that. We've created a whole series of views as you see here. What if there was an easier way to be able to review this information rather than just use the project browser? And we've developed something called the Ideate Sheet Manager. The Sheet Manager encapsulates both sheets and views. So we've got views on the left-hand side and sheets on the right-hand side. So you can actually see if I select on those views that I've just created, I've got all those views over here. So I'm going to create a new sheet. And I'm going to say that I want this to be part of, or the title block to be Ideate Apps. And it's going to basically pick the next sheet in my sequence. But in this case, I don't want that to be G003. I actually want that to be a different name. But before I do that, I'm going to come over here to that sheet, and I'm going to say that I want to have this be categorized by a product. And so I'm going to select View Creator, Apply, and it pops right down here because under our browser organization for sheets, I've selected what we call ISW, that stands for Ideate Software. So it's looking at that particular parameter to organize these sheets. So now that I've done that, I'm going to rename that sheet because I don't want it to be G. I want it to be that same series of, let's say, A155. And I want this now to be, instead of the first floor left, I want it to be the second floor left building. And remember, we renamed it to be area as opposed to zone. So I'm going to select area and select OK. So now it is A155, second floor left building area. All right, we have that view that we just created earlier, the L2 left building area. What I'm going to do is click over here on the left-hand side of the dialog and just drag it over to the right. So I'm actually assigning it to that sheet. And I'm going to do the same thing with some schedules over here. So I've got some lighting schedules, and I'm going to do this GuardCo from Philips and assign that to the sheet as well. Now, not only can I assign viewports from the left-hand side, but I can actually take viewports that are on existing sheets. So in this case, I've got this A150, first floor left building zone. I want to take the south elevation and move it to A155. So it's going to remove it from the A150 and place it on A155. Because, as you know, elevation, plan views, detail views can only appear on one sheet, but schedules and legends can actually be on multiple sheets. So in the background, here's my, let's say my sheet, and you might wonder, well, how did it place this? Well, it placed the plan view in the centroid of the area for the outside the title block. Now, along the top, it created the south elevation and the schedule. So I want to take the south elevation and I want to move it here down to the lower left of the sheet, and I want to take the schedule and move it here as well. So now I've started to lay this out and I realize, ooh, you know what I forgot is that there was a legend on this sheet A150. So I can come over here to this legend and I can say copy, and now I can paste it to this new sheet that I'm working with. And that's going to paste in the exact same location. So right there, now I've got my legend that's associated. So now all that looks good. Let's come over here and I can go ahead and fit that view. So I've got my plan, my elevation, my schedule, and my legend on this sheet. Well, now we're going to use this. This is A155, the second floor. Let's say we want to do the same thing to the third floor. How do we do that? Well, we have a tool called Ideate Clone, which allows me to duplicate sheets. So in this case, this is going to now be A160, and we're going to change the name from second to third floor. And we'll leave it at area. And here it gives me the ability to review the viewports that are on this sheet. And so instead of the floor plan L2, I want the floor plan L3. So we're going to come down here to floor plan L3, left building area, right here, and select that. Instead of the south elevation, we're going to select the north elevation. So I'm swapping that. The legend, as I mentioned, can be on multiple sheets, so I'm going to leave that. Just current means it's going to place the legend on the new sheet. And then for the schedule, I could have it be the same, but I could also swap out a different lighting schedule. So in this case, let's say I want to go from a GuardCo to a HADCo. So notice that there's also these tick marks, align plan views using model coordinates. This is going to ensure that all plan views are perfectly aligned based on their model coordinates. So I can select clone, and now it's going to create that new sheet with the same title block and any parameters that were associated with that title block. And it's going to keep these viewports in the exact same location as it swaps, in this case, the L2 to the L3, the level 3 left building area. So now that that's done, I'm going to say done there. So now, if we look at this, here is the second floor left building area, and here is our cloned sheet, the third floor left building area. And you can see that the plans are perfectly aligned using that little tick mark that I said, align based on model coordinates. So very easy to be able to align these across multiple sheets. We even have an alignment tool that if they do come out of alignment, you can specify which views you want to align. You can actually align not only the viewports, but also the title as well. So I could tick that and match the plan view title positions. I'm going to show you another sort of workflow that's available with Ideate View Creator. And that's being able to lay out multiple views using rooms. So I'm going to come over here to View Creator, and I'm going to select on Room Views. Select Next, and I'm going to search for all studio units. So there's Studio Unit 303, or 304, excuse me, and 304, 404. And I'm going to select Next. And so it grabbed those two studio units, all right, and it says, oh, do you want to clone this sheet? I actually already have a sheet that's laid out for that studio unit that has 4 elevations, an enlarged floor plan, an enlarged reflected ceiling plan, a schedule, and a 3D view. So I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, I want to use that studio unit 203 for the third floor and the fourth floor. So I'm going to say next, and the call out for the enlarged floor plan is going to be on L3, the third floor, and the fourth floor. That's great. So I say next. And so it's actually creating these new elevation views. These elevations did not exist prior to this particular workflow. So it's creating those from scratch based on the room configuration. It's also doing the enlarged floor plan and the enlarged reflected ceiling plan, as well as the schedule and 3D view. Just like I had the option before, it's giving me a preview of the views before they're actually created. And then I can modify the names so I could add a prefix or add a suffix before the view actually gets created. And you'll notice that this is using a rule that we call rooms. And I'll show that rule here in just a second, but it allows me to basically define what view templates I wanted to use. Like in this case, if I select on this, you can see here that I've got the default naming. I've got other properties that I can associate that are that I can apply to that particular new view. All right, I'm going to expand this a little bit here. And so I want you to see all the names, the Studio Unit 304 and 404. Now I'd like to put a prefix on them. I'm going to say RT, my initials, and I want to append all of those with RT, just to show you that you can easily prefix and put a suffix on any one of these. Now if I select Create 14 Views, it's automatically going to create those views and the sheets. So in this case, here's the Studio Unit 304, right? And I'm going to come back to the Ideate Sheet Manager here. And you'll notice that we have a Studio Unit 304 and 404. So I'm going to double click on 404 to open up that one as well. And if I look at 304, you know, it's actually created this schedule, and it's filtered the schedule on the room. So it's showing me the elements within that room based on Studio Unit 304. This one has automatically been filtered on 404. So as I incremented that information, it automatically changed the filter in the schedule as well. And you can see it's got the 3D view, it's got the enlarged floor plan and reflected ceiling plan, all exactly the way that I had specified. So that's a great use of Ideate View Creator. Okay, so let's go and just close a few of these different views. And we're going to come back here and I'm going to come over to the project browser, and we'll select to be able to renumber. So what I'm going to do is, I showed you some items with Ideate Sheet Manager, Align, Clone, and the View Creator. Now we're going to look at another tool within Ideate App still called Renumber. So if I select on this Renumber, it gives me a number of different methods that I can use. I can just select elements, or I can select by path. I'm going to show you the easiest one, which is go over here to rooms, and I'm going to do a, let's say 1, and we'll do a dash here, and then I'll say 0, 0. And actually, this is on the 3rd floor, right? Let me see this for a second. Yep, actually 3rd floor. I should have. So I'm going to go back to renumber. And so I want to actually do a 3 dash and then 0, 0. Okay, now I can just select elements, start numbering. So there is, 300-00. Here's 301, 302, 303, and so forth. And I can just keep going selecting elements. Notice if I try to select an element like a wall, it's not going to allow me, but I can select either a room object or the tag itself. But an easier way might be able to go over here and say, I want to create a path. And I select a path by vertex. You can start numbering by selecting on this, let's say office unit, coming over here and just selecting on these items and placing a point where I want to renumber the elements. When I'm done, I hit the escape key, and notice that the first 2 are white because it actually didn't change them, because I'd already renumbered that 3-00 and 3-01. Everything in green, it says, oh, I'm updating, because this one used to be 308, but now it's 3-07. You can also reverse the direction, which then everything's green because it starts out, it was 3-00, now it's 3-10. So I'm going to go ahead and accept those changes. Very easy to update information. And if I wanted to change this from a 3 dot to or a 3 dash to a 3 dot, I can do that. And then instead of creating the new path, I can just say select path instead. So start numbering, and then I pick the path, and then it's changing it, or it's updating it very easily from the dash to a period instead. And so I can say accept those changes. That's great. All right, so I was able to sort of renumber all those items very easily. Let's go and change this to doors. And I want to select that I want the door to be based on the room values. So I'm going to go over here and just say auto number by view, start numbering. And here it gives me, again, a preview of that information. If these, I want to swap the from room and to room, I can do that very easily. Like in this case, I don't want it to be, let's say, S2. And now these are all what I desire, let's say, and I can go ahead and accept those changes. And you'll notice here, if I come over to this live work unit, which is 3-05, the doors are 3-05A, B, C, and D. And it tries to number the doors clockwise around the room. If the doors aren't numbered in the sequence that you like, you can always go manually, and you saw I was able to renumber elements that way as well. But this is a quick way where you can do it sort of automatically with the renumber tool. Okay, let's go to another view here, and I'm going to select on, let's say, another view here, and I'm going to do my sheet manager. There's X-ray. And I've got this view where I'm looking for a sink, and I don't know why it's not displayed for me. Well, this is a great use of our Ideate X-ray tool. X-ray helps you understand why something doesn't display. And in fact, if you go to reveal hidden elements, it might show you some toilets and stuff, but it doesn't show me the sink I'm looking for, because the reveal hidden elements will only show you things that if the category's been turned off or it's been right-click, hide in view. It doesn't tell you other things, for instance, if it's outside the view range or in a different discipline, or a different, maybe it's in a crop region and so forth. So there's over 55 different ways that an element can be hidden in Revit. And so I'm going to come over here to Ideate X-ray. I'm going to search for a small area in the target view, select by crossing, select this, and go down to my plumbing fixtures. And so what I'm looking for is that sink wall barrier free. I'm going to select next and say find the element. And you can see now that not only one or two, but there's actually three reasons why this element's not displaying. So you should work from the top of the dialog down. The most important thing is the workset is not open. If you select Show Me, it's actually going to bring up the workset dialog where you can select and say, oh, yes, I definitely want to open up that workset. Then the next thing is it's hidden by category. But it's telling me, hey, before, you can't just hit Fix, or you can't hit, if I go here to VV, everything's going to be grayed out because it's being driven by a view template. So the first thing I might want to do is either assign a new view template, or maybe I want to modify that view template. But to make things easier, I'm just going to select none here, and then I can go to the VV. The categories are available to me, and I can go down here to plumbing fixtures, and I can turn that category on, which then turns on the toilets, but it's still not the sink, because the last thing is that sink has also been hidden by the right-click hide in view. So we went through these three methods to be able to expose this particular sink. So Ideate X-ray is a great way for you to understand why something doesn't display in a particular view. Okay, let's go back to this stair detail here. Oops, this one is the one I want to look for. Okay, and here's a great use of our next tool, the Ideate Annotate. So with Ideate Annotate, you have the ability to review 2D annotations, which could be text. So in this case, we have all this text here, right? And it's not aligned, it's not spaced out correctly. So what I want to do is select Align and Distribute, and I can filter on items that are text items. So I can just grab this, and then I can say, you know what, I would like to align or distribute this vertically. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is say distribute vertically. Then I'm going to align left with this tag right here. So all of them are nicely tagged. So you can see that if I don't use this little filter and I just grab things, I can grab the stairway and the handrails and things that I might not want. But if I do that with the filtering tool and select that, I can now just select those items that only are the tags themselves. So that's nice. All right, let's go back to and close this view. Go back to a cafe kitchen plan. Also having Ideate Annotate open. I'm going to now go to my review, and we'll go ahead and fit this view. And review helps me understand issues, annotation issues within this view. And what I mean by that is, look where it's telling me that, oh, there are clashes. Well, what does that mean? Well, if I double click, oh, this wall tag is clashing with this dimension. So I can move that and say that I want to refresh, and now that particular issue goes away. Ooh, there's some blank tags here. What does that mean? Well, it's a wall tag, and I can quickly see that the wall tag is looking for a type parameter. So I can come over here to the wall itself, edit this, and say the type, right, is the type mark is going to be, my initials, let's say RT. And come down here. Now that's been filled out. If I refresh that, we no longer have any blank tags. Let's say zero link dimensions. What does that mean? Well, this can happen if you dimension something and then later on, let's say align a door to the corner of the wall, and all of a sudden now it's set to 0. So you don't want that 0 dimension. That doesn't look good. So you can actually just delete that and remove that. But it allows you to review it first. And you can see here, other not visible, like a wall tag. Why isn't this wall tag visible, right? Well, what I can do is use Ideate X-ray that I just used earlier, and I can say, well, why isn't that wall tag visible? Well, the wall tag isn't visible because the tagged element, the wall itself, is not visible. If I select Fix, it's going to then come back and tell me that the wall isn't visible because it's outside the view range. And again, it's telling me information about how I might want to review that or change those settings. So Ideate Annotate is highly integrated with Ideate X-ray, being able to review those issues. And so, like I said, you would just keep going through and make sure that you review all these issues until you have a very clean plan. So let's go back here to Ideate Software. And so the other tools here in the collection if I come over to this view, and I'm going to go to Smart Delete here, double click on this. I just wanted to show you, like, if I select this roof and I remove it with the Revit delete, I don't get any kind of warnings or anything. So I'm going to come over here and undo that. I'm going to select the same roof, go to Ideate Software and select Smart Delete. And it tells me that, hey, there are dimensions that will be deleted, a material tag and a spot elevation. So if I double click on that spot elevation, it's going to open up that view, and then I can zoom in to where that spot elevation is and say, oh, that's going to get deleted, and so is this the material tag as well. So this is a great tool telling you all the information about that Revit element and what will get deleted if you decide to delete that. So that's our smart delete. And then we have a spell check that allows you to spell check all open sheets and views, sheets in the sheet list. Really important here, you can check schedules or you can check selected views. So it's much more robust and comprehensive than the spell check that's out of the box in Revit. And then quick select, I'm not going to talk about too much right now because all of the functions of quick select are pretty much incorporated into Ideate Explorer, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. All right, let's go back to the presentation and talk about our next productivity tool, which is called Ideate Sticky. Ideate Sticky allows you to live link Excel, Word, and PDF information into your Revit project and keep that up to date. And that's important because you have a lot of this non-BIM data in code specifications or general notes that needs to be sort of live, and that information needs to be incorporated into your Revit project. So if we go back here to Revit again, I'm going to bring up my sheet manager, and I'm going to go ahead and just create a new sheet here like I did before. And this one we'll give it a title block for Ideate Sticky. So now we have this new sheet. I'm going to come over to Ideate Sticky, and just like you would insert a DWG file or another Revit file, we're going to go over here and say create, and I'm going to link it to some samples that I have here. So I'm going to come over to my desktop samples, and by the way, these are delivered with Ideate Sticky. I'll come over here to the lighting spec, select on that. And in this lighting spec, there are multiple worksheets which represent the different Philips lines of fixtures. So in this case, I'm going to do Philips Lightelier. And I can give it any name I want. So I might call it Boston Project. And I'll say lighting schedule. And just say OK. And say close. And so now it brings in that Philips Lightelier. It actually is a real schedule. If I come over here to my schedules and expand that, you'll notice that the Boston Project lighting schedule is right here. If I double click, it's actually going to go into I can edit that information. However, I really don't want to edit in the schedule within Revit. I want to go back to the source file. So if I come over here to Ideate Software, we'll come back over to Sticky. And that Boston Project lighting schedule, I want to open that file. So this is opening the source file. We're going to go to Philips Lightelier, and we're going to select that we want the Philips Lightelier for Boston, let's say, school. And so I'm going to make this a little bit larger, and I might want to actually change, here we'll do just these cells maybe. And I want to change the color to something else. And then I also want to do this where if I come down here, I don't really need this Core Pro LED. So I'm going to highlight a series of cells. And I'm going to create what we call a named region. That should be, I want to call that, we'll say this one's going to be Taylor. And then we'll save that. So now I want to update from, and we'll say Taylor. And that's what I'm looking for. So I have basically now only those 3 cells, not the Core Pro LED downlight. Okay, so great way for me to update that information. I can also come over here to Ideate Sticky, and I can import Word or PDF images as well if I select Create and say that I wanted to come over here to my samples and do a vent detail that's in a PDF. I can select that. I can select whether it's transparent or not, what the DPI is, whether it's color or black and white. I can select OK. And again, the same way, I can now bring that PDF in and place that on a sheet and keep that up to date. So let's go ahead and fit that. So Ideate Sticky is a great way to integrate these non-BIM documents. So Ideate BIM Link is our next solution, and now this crosses over into the category of data management. It's a great way for us to use the power of Revit, the I in Revit, all that information, and be able to extract information from the Revit model to Excel and be able to make changes and manipulations very, very easily. We ship with about 400 pre-configured link definitions that support many different workflows. You can even create new Revit elements very easily. So I'd like to show you just a couple examples here. And it really doesn't matter what view we're in. I'm going to come back over here to this 3D view. And I'm going to select that we want to come over here to Ideate BIM Link. All right, and I'm going to select New for a new link definition. And I'm going to search all the link definitions for view. And you'll notice that each one of these, like review all unplaced views. This one says export view-based data, viewports, use type swapping to change the viewport assignments. So each one has a description. So I'm going to come over here to just sort of the generic one called views, select next, where it's going to build the properties for that particular link definition. So notice that it has this information as far as these properties. Maybe I don't care about hides at scales coarser than, so I'm going to remove that. Maybe, for instance, the scope box, I'm not too concerned with that as well. So this is now there are 416 views that are going to get exported. But I can filter this out and I can say, well, you know what? I only want where the family and type, where it contains or does not contain. I mean, it's very powerful filtering. So I said contains, maybe plan, as an example. So now that filters it down to 116. And you can actually do both or conditions as well as an and condition. So I can keep adding to this, and elements must pass all the filters. So that's really a powerful and condition. So let's go back here to the properties. I also want to specify that under the link, notice that there's this export with drop-down values, and we're going to see that in the Excel file. So let's go over here and say done and export. And we're going to export this to views. That's fine. We're going to overwrite the existing worksheet, and we're going to open up that file. So this is sort of the raw data, right? All the information that I specified, which was starting with the element ID, the family and type, the associated level, and so forth. And you'll notice what I mentioned about the drop-down views. So we have the view template. This one says none. Maybe I want to assign a view template, but gosh, I can't remember all the view templates, what their names are. So here is where that drop-down list was generated of all of the view templates that are associated to that project. So I could say, oh, I want this to be my structural framing plan as an example. And I know that it's, the spelling is correct and the spacing and the capitalization is all correct. Now for these over here, these drop-down lists, just temporarily what I can do is hide those. So I'm going to hide those columns. And really what I'm sort of concerned about is the view name. I would like to update the view name. So I'm going to do a little formula here, and I'm going to say that I want this view name to be starting with RWT, my initials, and then we'll do a dash, and then we'll do an end of quotation mark, and then an ampersand, and that basically says we're going to add to the cell, which is F2. So all we did was basically add RWT to the beginning. And I can take that little formula and I can drag it down and apply it to every single plan view. So we're going to go all the way down here. And now it basically added to RWT to be all those plan views. I can copy that information, and then I can come over here and paste the values here. So I want to select and paste the values in that location. So now they're all updated. Same thing, I could update the title on sheet or the detail number, whatever. I'm going to select save, and now I'm going to do the reverse. So in this case, I actually want to have, since I'm in the schedules, I want to have a lot of the plan views open. So let's come back over here to my sheet manager as an example. Yeah, let's just all of those L2s. So now we'll come over here to BIMlink, and I'm going to do the reverse, where I'm going to import items from views. Select OK. And notice that as I've come over here, like it says the view name, everything in yellow is going to get updated. If there's an error, like something's locked by work sharing, or something's not able to be changed, like I'm trying to change the square footage on a room, it's going to give me an error. In this case, there are no errors and warnings. It basically tells me what the Revit property was, what the new Excel value is, and so forth. So now I'm going to import and watch what happens over here on the project browser. Every single plan view gets a prefix of RWT. So it's super easy to be able to manipulate the information. So anything within Revit is pretty much, you can rename views, families, the title on sheet. You can go and search for all kinds of equipment parameters and update that information. So it's very easy to be able to really do a lot of data management. And the reason this is so important is because the only other way that you can do this is sort of in a Revit schedule. And in a Revit schedule, you're having to go line by line. You're not able to like do a shift select and select all these items. So this makes quick work of that data management. So that's Ideate BIMlink. And Ideate Explorer, as I mentioned earlier, is our model browser. Ideate Explorer allows you to understand every single element within Revit. So if we come over here to this 3D view, and now I'm going to call up Ideate Explorer. And Ideate Explorer, you can review elements in this view, right, which is in this case 643, or I can change it to the entire project, where I have 28,000. And then I can say, you know what, I want to come down here. It's sorting things by category, family, and type. So I'm going to come over here to the curtain wall panels. I'm going to go to system panels here. And I've got this solar wall edges. I'm going to double click, which will zoom up to that particular element. After that, I dismiss that dialog. And I can highlight on these panels. All right. But I can also highlight on all 63 panels very easily. And then I can use the properties palette here, and I can swap the properties. So instead of a solar wall edges panel, I actually want to use this system panel, which is solar wall edges, which has the pattern that I'm wanting to use here. So let's go ahead and modify that solar edge panel there. So now that has the, like I said, that crosshatch pattern that I'm looking for. So it's a way for me to identify elements and be able to modify them. I also have these powerful filters called dynamic filters. So for instance, if I wanted to come over here and select on a filter and say, you know what, I only want in-place elements. MST stands for multi-category. So it's looking at all elements for the entire project for casework. And so I can select that and I can say, you know what, let's go ahead and do a zoom to fit. And let's go ahead and isolate those elements. So I can just see the ones that are in place. So now I've identified only casework elements. I'm not looking at site or stairs or walls. And when I look at the casework elements, I can identify these elements. And you'll notice that a lot of them are bookshelves. So maybe that would have been a better use of a component family as opposed to an in-place family, because that certainly takes up a lot more space. So I'm going to say none here, and I'm going to go back. So I can use and I can modify these filters very easily. In fact, when I look at this, you can see that I'm actually specifying, is the property in place? Is it true? So these are things that like Revit doesn't give you the ability to review. Is it in place? Is it pinned? Is it mirrored? We have access to all of those properties. So I'm going to come back over here and say the filter is none for the moment. And then we can also, let's go back and select on my, reset my temporary height isolate. And we're going to go back to the full model. And then I'm going to look at the warnings. So I mentioned that you can rank these warnings as high, medium, or low. And you have complete control over that so that you can specify this and have this as a centralized file for all of your projects. So red means high, yellow means medium, green means it's a low ranked warning. So once we have these warnings, oh, two elements overlap. That's a high ranked warning. So I can double click to find it, but again, there's a lot of stuff going on here. So I might want to go ahead and select on both elements and then say I want to isolate them. Once I isolate them, you can pretty easily see where the problem is. So let's click on the floor slab. Let's edit that boundary and let's bring that back and then say finish the sketch. And we won't attach and we won't do that. And so now that particular warning goes away. And in fact, now I can come back over here and I can say reset my temporary height isolate back to the full model. You'll notice that there are identical instances. So there's quite a few elements that are like curtain wall mullions. So what I can do is select on that, right click, and I can retain originals or retain latest. Maybe they got duplicated by mistake, so I'm going to retain the originals. And I say, oh, what I'm going to do is delete 44 pieces of furniture and 7 supports. Go ahead and delete that. Ooh, it looks like some of them were pinned. Okay, well, even though I said that I wanted to delete them, they're still now, if I go over to Explore and I look at my current selection, they're still selected. So now I can come over and say, well, you know what? I want to unpin those. Once I unpin them, now I can come back over here to my warnings and say, you know what? Let's go and remove those. So now I can say remove those elements and say delete. And it's because some of those supports were pinned. So now I've got no high ranked warnings in my model, and I can continue going and fixing those warnings. At any particular time, like let's say highlighted walls overlap. I say that's not really a warning. I don't want to review that. I can hide that warning temporarily. And so that's not going to be in my list. But at any time with the filter, I can say, just show me the medium ranked warnings or just show me the ones that I have hidden. So in this case, and I could always unhide that as well. So right now I'm going to say, no filters, show me everything that I've specified. So it's a great way for me to understand exactly what elements are in the model and be able to fix those elements or review those elements. So that's Ideate Explorer. Now, Ideate Style Manager is our next solution, and Style Manager is very similar to Ideate Explorer in the sense of helping you understand these elements and being able to clean up these elements and styles, right? And that if you look at these elements, maybe for instance, fill patterns, and there are duplicates, then you can review where they're being used and merge those together. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's come back here. We're going to bring up from Ideate Software our Style Manager. And you'll notice that there are different collections of things, as I mentioned, object styles, line patterns. If I go to fill patterns here, the first thing I'm going to do is isolate duplicates. So these all have basically the same crosshatch pattern at the same scale. So you'll notice I have a wood 4 and a wood 1. Well, the first thing is there's this little question mark here. Well, are they even in use? So I can highlight both of them and I can say analyze them. Tell me if they're even in use within this model and where are they in use? Like what elements are using those definitions. So it analyzes those and it says, oh, well, the wood 4 is used in a material called wood birch. The wood 1 is used in these families. So the first thing I want to do is merge them together. I want to take wood 5, right? Or actually, I'm sorry, this is the 5 elements. Wood 1, and I want to merge it into the duplicate, which is wood 4. So I'll say merge those two together. Now, after I do that, it's no longer going to appear in my isolate duplicates because I've removed it, right? There's no duplicate. So I have to untick this, and then I'm going to go back and look for wood 4. So there I find it. Again, because we've changed the definitions, now we have to reanalyze. And in this case, it's going to now contain both the material as well as the families. So here's the wood material and the 5 families. So now it has 6 elements in this. So once I've merged the two together, now I want to right click and I want to rename this to something that makes sense. So we'll say wood birch drafting as an example. And now all of those families will have an element or a fill pattern called wood birch drafting. The same way this material will also have that. So it's, we've cleaned that up. So now if I go to wood birch, oops, there we have the wood birch drafting, and it's used again in those elements. So you can review filters, like for instance, this 2-hour filter rule. Where is it used? It's used in these view templates. It's used in these views. You can look at view templates. Where are they used? You can sort by the amount. For instance, if I say, oh, well, this working schedule view template is used by 19 different elements. It's in this element type working schedule, but it's also in these schedules as well. And you've got this architectural section is used in 13, which are all these views. And just like with Ideate Explorer, if you want to open up one of these views, you can double click. It will open up the view, and then you can see actually where that's being used, that particular view template. So great way to be able to really understand all these foundational elements of Revit and keep your models very clean and very lean. So that's Ideate Style Manager. And finally, we have Ideate Automation. Ideate Automation is a scripting solution allowing you to script tasks that can run overnight or when the computer is not being used. And you can use this to export out, for instance, PDF, NWC, IFC, or DWG information. Now, if you also have Ideate software solutions, you can do things like exporting out information from Ideate BIMlink. You can do Kobe takeoffs. You can do the annotation class reports that I showed you. You can export all of the warnings from Ideate Explorer, so you can do a nice health check. So here's the interface to Ideate Automation. And if you want to just doing a very simple example, I can select Create. I can do a publishing task where I do a publish of a PDF, let's say a combined PDF, select Next. I can bring a Revit file from the Autodesk Construction Cloud, or I can have a list of curated local models. Like in this case, I have this sample Revit project, the sample structural project. I'm going to select that file. There are no work sets, so I don't have to close any specific work sets. I'm going to export it to a folder called PDF Output. I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to go ahead and give it a sheet set. So the sheet set within that model is called Set 1. Select Next, and then go ahead and save and run. It's going to open up the appropriate version of Revit, in this case Revit 2023, and so it's actually opening Revit where it's suppressing any particular pop-up that may happen, so there doesn't need to be any human interaction basically. Then it's going to do the task that I specified, which is export out PDF, and then close that version of Revit. So you can see here automated processes are running, and in a moment you'll actually see that it's exporting out information based on that sheet set, which was set 1 that I specified. Now it's almost done with the export, and it's closing the version of Revit. And so you can see there that it's still running, the date when it was run, and then you can actually come over here. It's 8:14 p.m. When it was started. Now, if I'll come over to my desktop PDF output, so we're going to come over here to PDF output, And you'll notice that this Revit basic sample project was created at 8:16 p.m. Double click. And so here is the combined sheets, 5 sheets that I specified. So there's sheet number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. So that's just one example of a very quick way that you can use Ideate Automation to schedule these exports. So thank you so much for your time today. I very much appreciate it. And remember, you can learn more at www.ideatesoftware.com, where we have an extensive list of videos for all of our solutions. So there's a great deal of information on our website. Getting started guides, information for different videos, workflows, help topics, articles, many things that you can review on ideatesoftware.com. So I want to thank you very much for your time and attention today. I very much appreciate it. And again, if you have any questions, you can contact me at richard.taylor@ideatesoftware.com. Thank you.